I've been wanting to make some videos to maybe discuss a little bit about the different ways that people have sung very successfully. Today I thought I would do the what Manuel Garcia II called the miniature cough. And it's interesting when you read someone like Batistini, who was considered the greatest of the bel canto baritone. Someone asked him, "How do you sing?" And he said, "I press my chest." So you try to put these little things together and you realize that when you do a cough, right before you cough, you build up pressure with the breath from your back, and that breath pressure comes up against your chest, and when you cough, it releases. So I go, Now, that is one way to support the voice, which is with the pre-cough. Right before a cough, I go, See, I'm not doing anything except going, and to finish it, I might go, and then I cough. But I cannot cough unless I build up pressure first, and it is then the relief of the release of pressure that we hear that sound, the coughing sound. And I go, well, you hear that I'm definitely putting breath against my who knows what, my throat, my chest, everything. And we don't want to have a real bad cough. I had a real bad session this year where a cough lasted 2 months and it drove me nuts. And I didn't want to have anything to do with them, except when we sing. They're very handy. They can come in very handy. Now, Manuel Garcia based his theories about the miniature cough on listening to babies cry. So if I listen to a baby, and a baby does this when they cry, which is a type of cough. They build up pressure, and then they release it, or they keep it against the voice, and that's how they cry. Well, Garcia obviously discovered something very fantastic when he did that, and it was really amazing that he was a very, very successful voice teacher with that. So the way they breathe puts the other side of the same formula, and I probably should do a separate video on that completely, but the way the babies breathe in when they're crying, they go, and it sounds like a hiccup. So they go, and today I thought, well, I'll just concentrate on the cough, but you can hear that if I go, it's nowhere near my nose. My resonance is way up here in my head someplace. I take a breath down behind me in my lower back, and then that breath leans over, or I press my chest with it. Batistini said it's like leaning a ladder against the wall. Tito Skipa side. Everybody has a way of moving the breath forward from the lower back. Even Caruso talked about the contrary motion of the breath when you sing. So the idea, but he said to be sure and keep it down toward the abdomen. But if I do my abdomen and I go, and I do that cough down there, now I'm not going to let you hear the cough. I'm going to do a pre-cough, and then I'm going to maintain that pressure there. So I go, so I don't have to actually cough or be heard coughing. What I have to learn to do is silently and secretly do a pre-cough. A pre-cough is pressing the chest with breath. And all of these ways of leaning, if I sigh, I go, but I'm still letting the breath lean over against my diaphragm. So, but mostly it's sternum. They're mostly around the sternum. See? If I cough that way, it really is getting to be a miniature cough, isn't it? So if I want to use that when I sing, why not? Right? Preset or pre-cough. Regoni d'armonia, di bellezze diverse, e bruna floria, l'ardente amante mia. So the idea is that if I can really get good at this pre-cough, it's amazing how many things you can sing that way, and languages and everything else. Die weißes Lied dieser Knaben, sei wie mir ins Herz gegraben. Ich höre sein Bächlein rauschen, wohl aus dem Felsenquell. If I can find that, especially in miniature cough, there are many different ways to sing that. I can go, or I can cough bigger and go, but those are choices that I make that I hope will be artistic choices, and I hope I'll always have the ability to change in and out of any sort of approach that I want to use in terms of volume and color. I can sing longer. I can sing with, jawless, tongueless, and throatless. You go, it makes it a little darker, a little rounder. Or I can do the famous Lamperti style and go, la. But these are all done with a pre-cough type pressure. It's funny because Batistini was just worshipped in St. Petersburg. He was the greatest Italian baritone, and he went and lived there and became personal friends of the Tsar of Russia and was absolutely worshipped. And my old teacher, Olga Rees, went to the St. Petersburg Conservatory in 1912, and that was the heyday of Batistini. He sang there until he was, I think it was 1928 when he died. He was 78 years old. So he was in his prime when my old teacher went to hear him. And said he was doing Ernani, and he came out at the beginning of the opera, and so I stood around, and then it came time for him to sing an aria. So all of a sudden he walked down to the front of the stage, put his foot up on the prompter's box, opened his jacket, and stood like this. And then he opened his mouth and sang, and she said everybody in the theater went like this. Said the voice was so gigantic and so shattering that you couldn't stand to listen to it. And everybody looked at the Tsar, who was, the arbiter of behavior, and looked at him, and the Tsar and his wife were up there, and they were both going like this. So we don't really know what to sound like. If you listen to him on records, he sounds like a very lovely and nice lyric baritone. But when they heard him live, the people that heard him live, that's the voice that apparently Caruso thought was the greatest voice he ever heard. And he sang with Rufo and Poncel, sang with a lot of great singers. And Nelly Melba, he sang with just about everyone in the world of any great fame. And he thought that was the greatest voice he ever heard, which is interesting. But anyway, we want to just think about if you cough. Remember, it's a miniature cough. It's not some great, horrible cough coming from the depths of your being. We don't want that. We just want a light little, comfortable little cough. And before I do that, before I actually make the coughing sound, I build up a kind of pressure on my diaphragm. Like that. Now, if I do that, but I don't let you hear the cough and go, then that should be plenty of voice. I don't need more voice to sing the whole lyric Italian repertoire for sure. And most of the German lyric stuff too. You can cough bigger and make a bigger sound, but you have to be very careful that you don't get in the habit of you don't want it to turn into a yell. I mean, musically, it just can start sounding like you're yelling. You don't want to do that. You want to keep it within the bounds of a good musicianship. and try to make the music as best you can the way the composer seems to have intended for it to be done. But if I cough big, like that, and I go, I can certainly sing that big. And it's, by the way, it's tiring to cough a lot, but it doesn't seem to hurt the voice. They say never clear the throat. Clearing the throat can hurt the voice, the vocal cords, but coughing exhausts your back and your diaphragm, and exhausts the thing that makes the sound. It doesn't necessarily damage the vocal cords. So it's one of those great debatable issues. I know I just went through 2 months of coughing this past autumn, and I was really exhausted from it. Just so tired from it. I feel like singing at all. I felt like sitting around and doing nothing. But my vocal cords stayed clear the whole time. So it could be just the way we cough. Some coughs are maybe more damaging than others. We don't have to be experts. If you have a problem with vocal cords, you go to the doctor and hope that he knows what he's doing and he can treat them for you. But if I do cough, is that a cough? Yeah. You can see that it does automatically place my voice up here, so I don't have to worry about anything like being heard or whether my voice carries or not like that. And it also sets my diction free, so I can go, oh, I'm going to go downtown, I've got to buy some groceries today. You can understand every word I'm saying. So I can sort of sing anything I want to sing, and you can hear that my diction is very clear, and you must be able to make that clear diction in every language the best you can. And it's all done. That one was done on a, shall we say, a medium-sized cough. So if I go through the coughs, I go, can I sing with that one? Bimba dagli occhi pieni Maria, ora sei tutta mia. You know, when I did the streamers tapes, we talked about smelling the flower and conversational level. We had all these different levels of usage of any kind of steady volume. And this sort of thing applies also to coughing. I can decide how big a cough I want to use for a particular piece of music. There's always a danger that we will yell, or there's a slight danger that you might lose some support if you get too small. You know, they say that there's a whispering cough too. If you whisper like that and you go, well, can I sing that way? Non lei per me non vali letto, ora non già 3 lune da che la mia violetta. Oggi per me lasciò la vizi amori, in other words, that's plenty of voice for Traviata. I mean, I'm supposed to be young and a young man in love, and I'm not supposed to be yelling at her or anybody else. Maybe in the third act you might yell a little bit when he comes in into the casino and says, you know, or whatever it is, second act. I forgot, I haven't sung that opera for 50 years, so I don't really remember very clearly what I did. But I mean, these are different size coughs, just like we would use different levels of speech. Or the streamers were all, if I smell a flower and I go, well, what happens if I use a cough where I want to cough? I've got a flower that's making me cough. I don't want to blow it to pieces. I'm going to give it to let's say I'm going to give it to my wife. Well, I don't want to cough and damage it, so I go, I can sing like that. So this is some of this that maybe some of the singers would like to experiment with and give it a try. Try coughing at different intensities and do not hurt anything or damage anything, or don't think big right off the bat. Just think pre-cough. If I go, right before I made that coughing sound, I did that with my breath. In other words, I pressed my chest. If I go, la, 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 it does put the voice very funnel and very in the true mask, which is up here. If you want to use the word mask, I think in terms of mask, don't let the voice get down here in the nose. First of all, I don't cough in my nose. I don't do that. I go, it's really here.
Sorry.
All right, so we will stop there, and I hope we've accomplished something. Okay, bye.